Okay, got a fresh piece of white paper now, and we're going to work with an image that I've already glued and pasted onto the tissue that I'd worked with earlier, which I had actually prepared about a week ago, so it's been sitting there waiting around for me to decide to do something with it. But we're using the same stamp that we just used as well. So popping that down there, obviously we have to then decide, looking at the colours in the back, what are we going to try and draw out when we actually mount this. We're going to do things fairly simplistically here so that you can actually sit there at home and feel very confident that you can actually work along with us while we do this. So my background is going to be the green, and I'm going to mount the image onto the purple, because as you can see in the colour we've got the purple, so by the time we put that there like that, we've got a really nice finish on that, if that's what we want to do. Now I need to trim my image to fit onto the mounting, which is the purple piece that I have here. So what I'm actually going to do is centre it into there. Let me have a little bit of a look and see. Now you can measure, feel free to measure if you want to. I know that I basically want about 1 centimetre all the way around my image so that it fits nicely onto my mounting piece. We're going to use a guillotine now to trim it, and what you need to remember when you've stamped an image onto your acetate is that it's your image that you need to line up to get it square. You may not have got it stamped perfectly aligned on your acetate, so therefore I'm not going to make sure my acetate is very, very firmly up against the edge, which would technically, if I was cutting card, give me a nice straight card. I'm actually going to align the image that is stamped, and incidentally is actually stamped quite straight, so I'm just going to I just don't want a huge border on it. So I'm just going to hold that very, very firmly and just cut off the excess there of the tissue and the acetate. I'm going to spin it round, and all the way around the edges I'm just going to try and get a reasonably even edge all the way around of it. And that pulled there a little bit because I'm working with it, which is not the best, but that's okay. Let me just have a look at that. When you're working with your acetate, sometimes it will catch on your guillotine, but that's okay. That one did work okay. And again, which I didn't do that time, pull your guillotine toward you because you have a little bit more control. So pulling that toward me. You know, generally working with this kind of thing, you might be better if you use just a little personal paper trimmer. Now I'm looking at that and it's not as straight as I'd like it to be, so I'm just going to pull that up slightly, take my roller back to the other side and pull down. So we've got our piece of acetate and tissue cut now, as you can see, all nicely all the way around the edges. Throw away the leftover bits. We're not going to, I don't even use those for anything else at all. Someone who is really, really industrious might be able to come up with another idea. Now I'm using a Karl punch that has got a little nick in each corner. The reason I specifically use that punch, pushing that firmly into there so that it's in on both sides, and just punching that, if you can have a look there, you can see that it's got the notches just cut out of the side, and I want those notches so that we can actually thread the metallic thread around it. Now you can use anything you want to thread. You can use the metallic thread, you can use just your opaque ones that you can get, you can use string if you want to use string, but I want a really delicate finish, so I really am just going to use the finest metallic thread that I can get. Now the next stage is putting some double-sided tape, a good strong double-sided tape on the back of that, because it's actually going to hold the thread on, but it's also going to help mount it to the card. Now initially speaking, I'm just going to put some little pieces like that in each corner, because all it is going to do for me is this is just to help hold and secure the thread as we thread around the card. Otherwise, because it is acetate and it's quite bendable, then you actually end up with the thread getting loose, and it's not hard to do, it's just very, very fiddly and takes a little bit of patience. So if you feel like you've done it and for some reason it's not working out quite right, give it another go. And look, every single time you do it, you're going to go, oh, that's just so frustrating. But we want to peel that tape off the back on all 4 of those corners. You see what I'm doing there? Some people like to use tweezers or a lifter to get the tape off, if you've got nails sometimes, and it does tend not always to stick to the tissue really, really well, so you just need to work that around until you can get the right corner and get that off. So as you can see, we've got all the pieces of paper off the tape. Now we're going to start with our thread. Now the best way to do this is to hold your piece of acetate, start with your thread and hold it onto a piece of that sticky tape and go straight across to the other side, because what you're actually doing is you're cutting across 2 pieces of double-sided tape, so it just gives it that little bit of extra hold. And from then on, you go wherever you want to go with your actual thread, just keeping it as flat as you can. And always remember, go back in the same direction just so you can secure it a little bit, because otherwise you'll end up with it not securing itself. And I'm going to go back up to the side, unwinding. I'm going to come back across to the other corner, and I'm going to go back up to that corner and take it around the corner just so I can maybe dress that corner a little bit across there, if you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to come back down here, up over that corner. Whoa, that's all right. Pick it up there, and I'm going to dress that corner there, and I'm pretty happy with that. I don't actually want a real symmetrical look, so if you want to, you can finish off around the edges. Well, we can do that so you can actually see what happens if you want to. But again, I've rounded off that corner now, so as you can see, you get another look again. And so to bring back down and get the thread down that side, we've pulled down that corner now all the way around. I'm just going back and just making sure that where the thread's gone across the tape at the back, it's actually held onto it. Now the only place that we don't have that thread going across now is over that top side, and that's it. So I'm really happy with that look. I don't want to add any more to that. I just want to be able to finish off with that. So I'm going to take my tape across, make sure it goes across that double-sided tape there, and just snip off that thread. And I just want to make sure that as much as possible it's on that double-sided tape. Now we're going to prepare to mount this onto our cardstock that we're going to then mount onto the card. So now, picking up our double-sided tape once again, and we're going to put plenty of double-sided tape on. Because we've got 2 layers of acetate and tissue, I find that it doesn't always hold as well as I'd like it. Now I'm going to put the tape straight over the top of the thread, because again, that gives a little bit extra hold on the thread that we've put around our acetate. Hasn't gone quite to the end, that's okay, we'll fix that when we go across next time. If you want to measure how much you're putting on each time, go for your life. I don't have the patience to do that, and I find that I'm going to get the result that I want, providing I put the tape all over the places. Now when you put your tape on, be very careful, because you've got those little notches cut out. Make sure that the tape doesn't go over the notches, because if it does, it is going to leave some sticky residue on the other side. And so then when you actually mount it, you're going to have little bits getting caught on that other side. So again, I'm just going to trim that back a little bit where I've cut it a little bit too long on my tape. Just get rid of that little bit of tape there, and then I'm going to put a piece, just 2 sections in the centre. It doesn't probably need it to hold it, but the reason I'm putting it in there is that I actually want to just give a little bit of extra hold to the thread in there. Just helps it to stop from coming unglued and stuff as we go along. Because I've done the notches on this one, and I'm going to mount it on this card here like this, and this is going to be my mounting card, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to notch on the card as well, just to finish it off. Gives it a little bit nicer finish. So again, making sure your card is pressed right into the corner of your punch so that it punches exactly where it needs to punch. Once again, as you can see, the little notches are there, and that can also help you to line up when you're actually placing your image onto your card. So peeling off the double-sided tape. This technique is so easy, and people look at it and just, you know, marvel at the finish of it, and yet, you know, once you've done it once, it's a technique that you'll actually thrash. I use it and use it and use it in so many different ways, and you don't always have to put the thread on if you don't want to put the thread on. The other thing that you can do if you want to have a different finish is, before you glue your acetate to your tissue, sprinkle a little bit of glitter onto the glued, like where you've put the glue on the acetate, and then place it over, and you'll have glitter coming through on your acetate as well. So now I'm just going to line this up, try and line it up as best I can so I've got it fairly well centered and straight all the way along, and that's pretty good. press it down very firmly. Try not to roll your hand across that or drag your hand across the card, because you will dislodge that thread, and we don't want that thread to dislodge. What I need to do now is I'm actually going to mount it with double-sided foam tape, which will just give it a little bit of height, which will just finish it off. So turning my image over, pop that one away.